smoking one of these Chacom King Size, little stubby bent billiards. I got in Chicago at Iwan Ries. So I've heard it pronounced Iwan and Ivan. And I don't know which is correct. Sometimes W's are pronounced as V's. So who knows. Smoking some Arcadia from McClelland. It was Dr. Watson's favorite smoke. Such hyperbole. I mean, this one almost takes the cake for hyperbole. I'm not even going to read it. It's embarrassing. But Doug Owen brought some to the last Kitsap pipe meeting. Are we a club? I don't know. What makes you a club? That you have bylaws? I don't know. But I don't think we're really a club. We're just a gathering of pipe smokers. Anyway, I thought it was spectacular. I smoked a bowl, and it was just damn good. So, this is good. I went and got a tin from Doug. Washington State, I tell you, no wonder people shop online, even though some places won't ship here. Can you see the price? I mean, he charges a reasonable price. It's what he has to charge in Washington State. It's crazy. It is crazy. But he is our bricks and mortar, and I love that he is there. Plus, he's just an awesome guy. So's Adam, who works there too. I mean, just great guys. So, it's more than just the shop. And I will support him forevermore. Because I'm glad he's there. So, what else? Oh, we, Metalhead, a cigar guy, sorry, this last weekend, God, talk about, I am such a lightweight when it comes to smoking. We got together down at Smoky Joe's in Fife, down by Tacoma, and just had a great time. I motorcycled down there, and it was very good. So, great afternoon. Thank you, Brian. It was really fun. So he gave me some from Mr. Fishy Blink 182 in Sri Lanka. Some of this to smoke. Thanshers pipe tobacco, export quality product of Sri Lanka. So cool. I can't believe I was there and I didn't meet Mr. Blink Issue 182. I mean, that would have been a highlight of the trip. So I'll just have to do it again when I'm over there again, which it's on the other side of the world. We'll see when that is, but I'm kind of am I overdue? I did some Scandinavian travel this spring. So. And Chicago. Yeah, maybe I'm not overdue. But it is a nice smoke. I recommend this. I'm just not that discriminating, honestly. I am not. As a wine taster, I would be the plumber, So, what I like, you may hate, but recommend it. Also got a little tin of this. Jeff, it's coming your way. And this, I will say too, this Colt Blood Red Moon, cherry, and chocolate. Eric brought some by the Kitsap. Well, actually we got together on Friday in Paulsbo, and smoked for an hour or so. Doug and Adam and Eric and I. So I was pretty smoked out over the weekend. This is about the best aromatic I've ever smoked. I was really amazed. I was expecting from the tin note, that it would just be glumpy and icky, but it's not. It's really good. Made in the USA by Scandinavian Tobacco Group, Lane Limited, Tucker, Georgia. Now, that'll segue into, will this topic never die? The last video was about health studies, and I had put forth the idea, which nobody challenged me on, and you got to do that. If you know better, you challenge me, all right? That maybe Scandinavian Tobacco Group was owned by Altria. No, that's wrong. Liar. Unintentionally, but misinformationalist. Yeah. So a little online research. It's easy to do. They are headquartered in the U.S., Scandinavian Tobacco Group. But they are, in fact, owned by a couple of Scandinavian companies with long history in the tobacco business. And they are not owned by Altria, which is Philip Morris. The evil big business people. So anyway, I just wanted to clear that up. But what I did discover is that Altria, I also asserted misinformationally that Altria does not have a hand in the vape business. False. So just about Altria, their pipe group is under the John Middleton name, and that includes Carter Hall, Middleton's Cherry Blend, Prince Albert, and all kinds of other what I consider drugstore kind of crappy tobaccos. But so that is Altria. Altria does own those brands. So they own John Middleton, who owns Carter Hall, Prince Albert. And then a whole variety of tobacco brands. They own cigar brands, most of which are, the cheapo cigars. They pretty much have their hand in gas station, drugstore type stuff. But they also have Newmark is an Altria company focused on responsibly developing and marketing innovative tobacco products for adult tobacco consumers. What do you know? From the start, we designed our e-vapor brand, Mark 10XL, to offer adult smokers and vapors something familiar and appealing. So they actually have a lot of vape stuff going on. Wow, was I wrong? So I stand corrected. People, if you know this stuff, don't just say, that NW pipe smoker doesn't know shit. Correct me, please. So, Altria. There's just so much I don't, So much I don't know absolutely overwhelms the wee little bit I do know. So, I am no expert. Take it with a grain of salt, please. That's good for discussion. So is there a big evil Altria move to get rid of vaping? Well, they might be wanting to clear out most of the vaping market, but they have vaping products. Did you get them? My original contention was, or question was, why isn't Altria getting into the vaping business? If it's so popular, like from less than 2% to now 16% of a young market. That's all loaded, isn't it? But still, I mean, it's a big market. So, and they aren't trying to kill vaping. I think they're trying to clean it up, probably, and get rid of all that competition from the bottom end and offer their product instead, which they will have the financial resources to test and go through that whole process. So, yeah. So I'm thinking, it's not that they're not in vaping. They certainly are. This is a little damp. I like a little drier tobacco. So, or if I would just smoke and not talk, that would solve it too. So, when we were in Paulsbo, smoking out by the waterfront there, Eric, Dougo, and Adam, myself, Eric made reference to the 1964 U.S. Surgeon General's report, which was really a landmark. It was a compilation of studies and was quite an authoritative document, in fact. It did confirm that cigarettes are linked to higher death rates for cigarette smokers. It did provide a causal link, supported scientific evidence of a causal link between cigarettes and heart disease and cancer. But interestingly, I have a few highlights here. It's a big report. It's from 1964. It is available. I'll put the link in the bucket. It is worth taking a look at, because it is, we all have floating in our heads, where did we get that? And I went online and, I looked at a variety of blogs and comments, and people were saying, well, this idea that pipe smokers actually might have a lower risk is bullshit. It's just bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. And honestly, to reconfirm all these studies, boy, they can be boo, 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 all over the map, and you kind of don't know what the biases are, which can be many and varying. So, yeah, that's why statisticians and researchers aren't usually paid the big bucks, actually, but they are it's a very specialized area of knowledge, and a very important one. So this 1964 study was really a landmark, and it's publication 1103 from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. A few excerpted pages. It's like 499 pages. So, cardiovascular diseases. It is established that male cigarette smokers have a higher death rate from coronary artery disease than non-smoking males. Although the causative role of cigarette smoking in deaths from coronary disease is not proven, the committee considers it more prudent from the public health point of view to assume that the established association has causative meaning, than to suspend judgment until no uncertainty remains. So even though there was some uncertainty at the time, they went ahead and made that statement. It is established that there is a causative link. Cigarette smokers. Also, interestingly, pipe smoking appears to be causally related to lip cancer. Just be aware of it. I mean, this is pretty good stuff. They talk about nicotine. They talk about the combustion process. They talk about all of that. So basically, nicotine, surprisingly, Nicotine is rapidly changed in the body to relatively inactive substances with low toxicity. The chronic toxicity of small doses of nicotine is low in experimental animals. These two facts, when taken in conjunction with the low mortality ratios of pipe and cigar smokers, we'll get into that more, indicate that the chronic toxicity of nicotine in quantities absorbed from smoking and other methods of tobacco use is very low and probably does not represent an important health hazard. So the health hazard is not from nicotine. It is addictive. The significant beneficial effects of smoking occur primarily in the areas of mental health, and the habit originates in a search for contentment. Since no means of measuring the quantity of these benefits is apparent, in fact, it's like, how do you measure that? The committee finds no basis for a judgment which would weigh benefits against hazards of smoking as it may apply to the general population. So they recognize that there could be some benefits in the contentment area, but they just don't know how to quantify that and compare it to the risks. Fair enough. Good to state that up front. Death rates of cigar smokers are about the same as those of non-smokers. For men smoking less than 5 cigars daily. For men smoking 5 or more cigars daily, death rates were slightly higher, 9% to 27%. For non-smokers in the 4 studies that gave this information. There is an indication that this higher death rate occurs primarily in men who have been smoking for more than 30 years and in men who stated that they inhaled smoke to some degree. So inhaling, and we're talking death rates, so from cancer and from heart disease and artery disease. And we'll get to that also, which is interesting stuff. Death rates for current pipe smokers were little at all higher than for non-smokers, even with men smoking 10 or more pipes per day, and with men who had smoked pipes for more than 30 years. Interestingly, ex-cigar and ex-pipe smokers, on the other hand, showed higher death rates in four out of the studies. The explanation is not clear, but maybe a substantial number of such smokers stopped because of illness. And so, it had caught up with them. They stopped. They were listed as previous smokers, and then they had increased mortality. That makes sense. In all 7 studies, coronary artery disease is the chief contributor to excess number of deaths of cigarette smokers over non-smokers, with cancer uniformly in second place. So, it's coronary artery disease, folks, primarily. I mean, yeah, there's cancer. But we all think of it as, cancer. And maybe it is scarier. But coronary artery disease is a slower, creeping, incremental kind of a thing, just as debilitating. And that, again, in all 7 studies, coronary artery disease is the chief contributor to excess number of deaths. Now, that's in cigarette smokers. So that's what they studied there. They did a study, one of those 7 studies was of British MDs, British doctors. So that study, interestingly, mortality ratios for current smokers of pipes only by amount smoked. So if you smoked 1 to 9 pipes per day, holy shit, 9 pipes. That's chain smoking, boys. Wow. The overall ratio, the doctors, well, the men in 9 states, so they have men in 9 states as a study, U.S. veterans as a study, Canadian veterans, men in 25 states, and then an overall ratio. So the doctors, the British doctors was another study, they gave a mortality ratio of 0.91 for cigar and pipe smokers together, presumably mostly pipe smokers, who consume more than 14 grams of tobacco daily. 1 is the mortality rate for non-smokers. So the British doctors who smoked more than 14 grams of tobacco daily, presumably pipe smokers, actually had almost a 10% better mortality rate. I mean, less mortality than non-smokers. So this is where some of that backyard knowledge about, oh, pipe smoking, it isn't good for you, but it won't necessarily kill you faster. Well, so the men in 9 states, 1 to 9 bowls per day, it was equal, the mortality, to non-smokers, so no difference. U.S. veterans, it was 1.03, and actually 5% is kind of the variance there. So that's within the variance, very little difference between that and non-smokers. Canadian veterans was 1.07, so, you know, there's a little additional risk. Men in 25 states in the U.S., 0.92, so 8% less mortality than non-smokers on average. And the overall ratio is 1.01, so it's basically the same. Interestingly, the men in 25 states, if you smoke 10 or more pipes per day, was 0.76. And overall, the other showed, well, it varies around, but the overall, if it was 1.01, no difference basically between non-smokers. It was 1.05 for heavy pipe smokers. So again, within the range of, it's the same as non-smokers. Very interesting. So, let's see. Results for total death rates. Mortality ratios for current smokers. For smokers of cigars only or of pipes only, 3 of the studies show small increases in overall death rates, ranging from 5% to 11%. The study of men in 25 states, however, gives slight decreases for both types, as does the British study for the 2 types combined. That just confirms what we were just talking about. So combining all those studies, including the British doctors, gives a mortality ratio of current smokers who smoke pipes only of 0.86. So that's 14% less than the non-smoking population average. Wow. So to sum up, for current pipe smokers, men smoking less than 10 pipefuls per day have death rates very close to those of non-smokers. For heavy pipe smokers, 10 or more per day, 2 studies show increases of 15 and 12% in death rates, but the other 2 studies show little or no increase. The overall mortality ratio of 1.05 does not differ statistically from unity, unity being 1.0, which is the non-smoking. Wow. Well, pretty amazing. Now, Eric had some other statistics here that I thought were pretty amazing, too. So, here let's talk lung cancer deaths. So that's only lung cancer. And these are CDC statistics, so Center for Disease Control. So remembering that non-smokers, even those not exposed to secondhand smoke, can develop lung cancer and do. So 156,000 U.S. lung cancer deaths. Well, compare that, and that's, I mean, that's cigarettes, that's pipes, that's, you name it. Everything. Just lung cancer deaths. And also remembering, too, that according to this study, arteriosclerosis is the primary killer of smokers, not lung cancer. So, okay. But 156,000 lung cancer deaths in the U.S. 210,000 were killed in preventable hospital errors. The U.S. Also from the CDC. A total of 440,000 total deaths due to medical errors. So, really, your chances of dying are greater going into a hospital than from lung cancer. But anyway, I thought that was just kind of fun. So, pretty interesting stuff. That confirms the Seattle Pipe Club. You want to come up? It's okay. Coming by for a little pet. Yes. Meow. Rolling. Looking cute. So there is some evidence, something from truly an authoritative source, that does support that backyard statistic of, wow, pipe smoking statistics actually are better than non-smokers. That was surprising. But hey, I am no statistician here. I know nothing, and that's pretty true. So, take it or leave it. Statistics, wow. They can lie and cheat. But I thought that was interesting about Altria. So, my original assertion that, you know, big tobacco's behind the end of vaping and behind, they may be behind the 2009 legislation. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know anything anymore. It's kind of like the stock market, you know. It's like you just never have enough information to make a reasonable decision. You just don't. That's how I feel about it. So anyway, I say keep your eyes wide open. Read what you can if you're interested. Enjoy the hobby. As always, manage your risks as best you can. The idea of not smoking really hot. I don't have a drink out here with me. I should. You know, the Seattle Pipe Club discussion, after reading what I've read, actually is a great summary, a great practical bit of information to go with. So, I'll put the link up there again in the bucket for that. Enjoy your hobby. You know, I don't think too many of them, well, there might be some, who smoke for the nicotine, you know, because you're a drug-addled addict. Who knows? But still, you can enjoy it. And it does kind of appear from the Altria stuff that there will be vaping products available, but they will probably be from big tobacco in this case. You know, all the little smoke shop brands and stuff, they'll probably go away. And as far as what happens to our tobacco, certain brands or blends or whatever are probably definitely going to go away with greater control from the FDA. So there has never been a better time to stock up. Tobacco will never be cheaper. Tobacco will never be more available than it is now. And honestly, most tobacco blends, some aromatics aside, they only get better with time in the cellar. So if you can make the investment, go ahead and do it. I was talking to Rob Cooper. We have some great very late night conversations on the phone. And Cooper's Arc, if you haven't visited his site, you should. He has got some great pipes on there. He was saying that, yeah, he's stocked up too, on his favorites. And so it seems to make sense. So if you can do it, do it. August 8th is supposedly the deadline, but who knows? And who knows how this whole thing's going to happen. Too much unknown. So enjoy, stock up, try and be as informed as you can. Drink a non-alcoholic beverage with your smoke, and make the most of it.